Hey, this is Patrick Coffin. How's your summer going? How would you like awesome books to read? I'm going to give you my top 10 picks for summer beach reading. Now that the summer's kicked in, you've got a couple months to do, I don't know, why not fill your mind and your soul with content that's really going to change your life for the better. All right, so here are my top 10 in no particular order. Number 1, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. This is a rollicking story. It's perfect for boys or older boys. I think women would get a lot out of it as well. In fact, I think it's sad that Mark Twain's books are called classics because that means no one's going to read them. But The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, totally winsome story. I don't know if it's ever been filmed well, but it is just so stinking hilarious and insightful and a bit sad in parts. And that leads to my second pick, which is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which is a kind of a sequel by Mark Twain to the Tom Sawyer story. It's about Huck Finn and his friendship with Jim, who's a black slave who's now escaped. And the heart of the story is Huck's friendship with Jim. And of course it's in pre-Dred Scott, so it's in the slavery era. So some of the language is a little bit dated. But the way Mark Twain spins this story, it's full of pathos and humor and insight, and it's just endlessly interesting. Mark Twain is sort of America's Charles Dickens, you might say. He's very hard to categorize, and his writing style is one of the reasons why people are still enjoying his books 120 years later. By the way, at the end of his, this is going to be a bonus book, at the end of his life, he wrote a book on a Catholic saint. And at the end of his life, he said, "This is my favorite book that I've written. It's called Joan of Arc, and it's about St. Joan of Arc." He actually went to France and went to Orleans and did all kinds of research, looked at the battlefields that Joan led the French against the English. So it's a very interesting pick subject-wise for Mark Twain. So let's just call that number 3, and I'll give you a bonus at the end. So number 3, number 1, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Number 2, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Number 3, Joan of Arc, all by Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain. Okay, next up, Peace of Soul by Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen. Peace of Soul is Bishop Sheen's critique of Freudianism. And it was written in the 1950s when Sheen, in a way, was at the height of his communication powers. He was already on television. He'd already won an Emmy. Yeah, he won Emmys too. But this book is his examination of Freudian psychology and how the psychoanalytics couch has replaced the confessional. It's a wonderful book. It's very, it's insightful. It connects all kinds of theological and psychological dots that you normally don't put together, all in Bishop Sheen's winsome style. So that's Peace of Soul. By the way, all of these books, wait till the end, I'm going to give you the link where you can click to my website and get all of them. I'm going to click all of them and you can order them. And full disclosure, I get a very small micro affiliate commission by Amazon. It doesn't affect the price of the book. So number 4, Peace of Soul by Archbishop Sheen. Number 5, Essentialism. And the subtitle is The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. The author's name is Greg McKeown. He is a Silicon Valley CEO. He's a real kind of a business guru. I've learned a lot from Greg McKeown. And this book is for anybody who wants to pare down their life and focus on the things that matter and ignore the things that don't matter. There's lots of things you and I do every single day and night that have no place in our lives. It's like flotsam and jetsam that just kind of hang around and drag us down. So if you want your hot air balloon to go up and go places, this book is a great way to get rid of all of the extra baggage that keeps you tethered to the ground. So if you've got a dream you want to live out, this is a great way to get rid of all the dead weight that's keeping you from living out the things that you really want to do, but don't seem to have time to do. So number 6, this is a fun book by Betty Kirkpatrick. It's called Cliches. And this is a really fun romp through exploring 1,500 different phrases. Most of them are, hackneyed phrases we've learned 100 times, but you might not know where the origin is. In fact, I'm not even going to give you an example because 90% of these words and phrases you're going to go, yeah, I've heard that. I did not know where that came from. So if, like me, you're a word write and you love knowing the origins of phrases, especially cliches, you're going to love this book. It's called Cliches by Betty Kirkpatrick. Number 7. Now, the next 2 books are by guests on my show. Okay? Number 1 is Why I Don't Call Myself a Gay Christian by Daniel Mattson. Daniel Mattson is a magnificent walking ambassador for the courage apostolate for people with same-sex attraction. And Dan has got quite a story about coming out of the gay lifestyle, how the gay identity, I call it the gay identity label, I am gay or she is gay or lesbian, reduces people with same-sex attraction to one thing, their sexual proclivities. So Dan has a very interesting and human way of describing not only his own story, but how to communicate the Catholic anthropology about homosexuality in a way that makes sense, that is true to Scripture, true to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and also, frankly, Dan is a really funny guy. He just comes across as completely free from all of these labels. So if you have same-sex attraction or a family member, a friend, or whatever, great book, Why I Don't Call Myself Gay, published by Ignatius Press by Daniel Mattson. That's Mattson. Number 8, After the Natural Law. How the classical worldview, I want to make sure I get how the classical worldview shapes our moral and political values. This is by Professor John Lawrence Hill. Now, before you fall asleep, you think, oh, law professor, natural law. Trust me, Professor Hill has a way of explaining why the natural law explains just about everything. It underpins the Ten Commandments. It bolsters and forms the foundation for American law, what we call the West, how you and I make moral decisions. Jay Budziszewski calls it the law we can't not know, the law written in our hearts, in our conscience. All of us have this understanding intuitively that we should do this and we should avoid this if we're to perfect our natures. Dogs do not follow natural law. Squirrels, atoms, they don't follow natural law. Okay? They're part of the laws of nature, but natural law is specifically human. You and I have to make choices, and John Lawrence Hill, who's also an upcoming guest on the show, does a great job at paring it down and putting it where I need it, which is at the 6th grade level. So that's called After the Natural Law. Number 9, Defending Marriage, 12 Arguments for Sanity by the great Anthony Esolen. Tony Esolen's one of the great national treasures of our time. He's been a guest and will be a guest on the Patrick Coffin Show, and this is a book to give to people who think that talking about Obergefell-Hodges and the redefinition of marriage by the Supreme Court has to get into discussions of homosexual behavior. It does not. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about what marriage is, how it's been defined for thousands of years, and why redefining it is going to have, and is already beginning to have, immediate repercussions in our society with respect to strengthening marriage. So that's Defending Marriage by Professor Anthony Esolen of Thomas More College. Okay, number 10, Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand. Now, Laura Hillenbrand is also famous for writing Unbroken about Louis Zamperini, the World War II veteran hero, Christian. Sadly, he was a Catholic who found Christ through Billy Graham, but this is a great story. And now I'm reverting now to Seabiscuit. Seabiscuit was a runt of a horse that took America by storm during the Depression and won all manner of races across the United States. And it's about the horse and his relationship to the trainer, whose name is Red, and to the man who put them all together. In the movie played by Jeff Bridges. The movie's not great. The book is a classic, Seabiscuit. So if you or your teenager, I know girls especially love horses. I love horses. I didn't grow up in an equestrian family, but I love Laura Hillenbrand's Seabiscuit. Great book to take to the beach and to share with your teens. Finally, so here's my, I think I've got 11 here, but I'm going to give you my final bonus. I guess this would be pick number 11, Green Dolphin Street by the English writer Elizabeth Gouge. It was made into a movie in 1947 starring the wonderful Donna Reed and Van Heflin and Frank Morgan, who played 5 characters in The Wizard of Oz. Green Dolphin Street is an epic story of 2 sisters and the man who loved one of them. And all I'll tell you is the man who loved one of the sisters, their names are Marguerite and... doesn't matter, Maureen, I think, Marguerite, and maybe Margaret. It'll come to me. Anyway, the suitor writes this long amorous letter to the father so he can have the girl's hand in marriage, but he was drunk when he wrote it, and he addressed it to the wrong girl. Marianne, that's her name, Marianne. I knew it would come. So the story is what happens when the wrong girl shows up to the island near New Zealand. Oh my gosh, this book has heartache, it has humor, it has a ton of Catholic resonances. I won't tell you about the end, but when you watch the movie or read the book, you will not believe how Catholic this is. So that's Green Dolphin, like, it's more of a dog, I guess. Green Dolphin Street by Elizabeth Gouch. That's Patrick Coffin with my top 10, technically 11, picks for summer beach reading. Hope you enjoy them. In the meantime, be a saint. What else is there? Go to patrickcoffin.media/blog and click, and you can get one or some or all of those books. These are all books I've read and books I will be rereading. Until then, take good care. See you real soon.